Good evening and welcome, everyone. Is that way too loud? Pursuant to the warning dated January 28, 2026, the annual Springfield Town and School District Public Informational Hearing is called to order. Hopefully that's the last time we use the gavel tonight, until the end. I'm John Brady, and as your elected Town and School District Moderator, I am the presiding officer for this meeting. To open the meeting, Boy Scout Troop 252 will come forward and present the colors and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Meeting with both in-person and remote participation. As I understand, it is also being aired live on TV. As you can see, we're in the high school cafeteria. We thank SAPA and the school district for making this location available and their work to set it up for this purpose. The public informational hearing tonight is a statutory requirement for voters to hear reports of the town officers, town school district officers and committees to discuss all Australian ballot articles on the annual town and town school district meeting warning and to do any other business that can legally be done under this warning. This evening we will also hear from representatives for the warrant articles that relate to agency appropriations. No actions will be taken at this evening's hearing. It is for information only. The purpose of the hearing is to have public dialogue on the articles to be voted on at town meeting tomorrow. We are here for all of us to learn information and share perspectives. As required by the open meeting law, let's start the hearing by taking a roll call attendance of all select board members participating in the hearing. When I call your name, please respond. Christy Morris, the chair. Michael Martin, vice chair. Here. Tara Chase. Here. Michael Schmidt. Here. And Heather Fromm. Here. We will also introduce the members of the school board. Again, when I call your name, please respond. Troy Palmer, chair. Here. Steve Carafa, vice chair. Here. Denise Hunter. Here. Jessica Katie Berlow, not here. And Jessica Austin, not here. Oh, okay, online for Jessica Austin. Thank you. Superintendent of Schools Peter Burrows and School CFO Richard Pembroke are also present, as is town manager Scott Pickup. And all of them may be participating this evening in some of the discussion as well. Procedure. Robert's Rules of Orders and Vermont law govern this hearing. Although no motions can be made, no actions will be taken. It's an informational hearing only. All those who wish to speak to an article may do so. All questions and comments must be germane to the article that is on the floor at the time. All those who wish to speak to a specific article will have a chance to do so before I recognize the speaker for the second time on the same article. All questions and comments must be addressed to the moderator. When you are recognized, please state your name and step forward to the microphone here so that everyone in the meeting and everyone online can hear what you have to say. Identification when you speak is required by state statute. For those joining us remotely, just like those here in person, you need to raise your hand to be recognized. And we'll struggle through the technology to get that right when we start doing that. Once recognized, you will need to, online, once recognized, you will need to unmute yourself before you speak, obviously, and then when done, remute yourself. Please do not unmute yourself until you are recognized to speak. The sole purpose of the hearing is to discuss the articles on the ballot. There are 31 articles on the 2026 warrant. We will discuss them in the order in the warrant. Each article hopefully will appear on the screen as I read it, and then I will ask for questions and comments. A final reminder that the sole purpose of the hearing is to discuss the warrant articles on the ballot in the order that they appear. So let's get started. Article 1. To elect the following town officers and town school district officers for the ensuing year. Cemetery Commissioner, Library Trustees, School Director, Select Board, Town Moderator, Town School District Moderator, Trustee of Public Funds. That's as the article reads. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on the article? Not seeing any hands in present or online. We'll move forward to Article 2. Shall the town vote a salary of $50 per meeting for the town moderator for the ensuing year? I haven't put that on the warning, I just did. Does anyone want to be heard on the article? Seeing no hands in the audience or online, we'll move on to Article 3. Shall the town vote to pay each select person the sum of $500 to help defray the costs and expenses incurred in serving the town in that office? Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on the article? Not seeing any hands or anyone online, we'll move forward to Article 4. Shall the town appropriate the sum of $16,801,225 for the budget of the town for salaries, incidental and necessary town expenses, including highways, and for the purposes for which the law requires appropriations, and for which a town may legally vote? Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on the article?
There you go. Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the town manager, just started in January. My name is Scott Pickup. A lot of this budget, a lot of the work that was done on this budget was done by Jeff Locus. So Jeff retired in January. Really appreciate all the hard work he's done. All the department heads that did that hard work. I just sort of walked in at the end and said, oh, look, the finished budget for this month. So here we are tonight. Been catching up ever since. The board here, very instrumental. Budget advisory committee, lots of other folks worked on this to make sure that they brought you a budget that they thought really sort of did some highlights in terms of reinvesting in this community, giving us a chance to make sure our tax rate was reasonable and people could see that we were trying to make some progress in some areas that we'll try to highlight. And you can make my laptop the host, and I can run through some slides real quick here about a few highlights of the folks. So as you can see, we'll work through a couple of these here real quickly and talk about some of the highlights on the budget. We did talk about, we have a proposed budget of 16 million, a little over 800,000. The amount to be raised by taxes is roughly 12,908,000. So the actual amount that we're looking to increase taxes year over year is about 600,000. Currently, that represents about a 4.89% change in gross expenditures. And what will happen is, obviously, we still have to get the assessors 411 forms and file a total assessment, and then we'll end up in July at the tax rate. The board is already considering ways to lower that 4.89%, so that we can see a number that's lower than that once we actually set our tax rate come July. But those things will be determined as we move forward. So hopefully we'll see a number that's a little lower than that as we go forward. This is how we're spending the money, and it gets to be a little bit of a breakdown, but as you can see, it's pretty close to what we spent in prior years. The percentages haven't changed dramatically. Obviously, our biggest expenditure is public works, for lots of reasons. Obviously, every season we're spending different types of money for different types of projects. Police and fire, as you can see, including ambulance, is another large area of expenditure. And then we break that into much smaller areas as we get into some of our senior center, our parks and rec, which is our general administration, and some of our fixed costs as we go forward. So this is pretty favorable to last year's percentages. It pretty much mirrored almost exactly what we were spending last year. There's some drivers in the budget, like there always are, so we wanted to hit a couple highlights for you. Some things that unfortunately are beyond our control. The big one for us is health insurance, and everybody's struggling with how are we going to afford health insurance. We already participate, employees participate in health insurance premiums. The rates that we pay are basically set by the Green Mountain Care Board. So we've had some seasons of double-digit increases. Last year was a little less than we anticipated, so that was somewhat good news. But unfortunately, the long-term trends for our health insurance aren't real positive. So we're really in a difficult situation here, trying to manage that expenditure as we're looking to manage our overall budget. The same thing is happening with trying to recruit and retain employees. We're in a very tight labor market for people that have certifications. So we're looking for folks that are CDL drivers to do our snow plowing. We're looking for folks that have certifications to do our water and sewer plant operations. And unfortunately, it's tough for us to pay competitive wages when a lot of these people can go and work in other areas, make significantly more money. So we're being challenged here, trying to keep ourselves affordable so the community can afford our taxes and afford to live here, but also trying to maintain our workforce. We're currently managing some vacancies and having a challenging time trying to recruit folks into these vacancies. And so it's going to be a challenge for us as we balance those going forward. Our capital contributions, there's lots of different ways that the town is looking to invest back into the community. We have long-term debt. Water and sewer has significant amounts of long-term debt. The town actually has done very well. We have a relatively small amount of debt that's town issued. And that's one of the focuses I think the board has asked as we go forward. We have old buildings. We're looking at options for replacing or trying to consolidate operations. Can we use some debt, try to maintain our long-term budget discipline, but also replace some of our aging infrastructure, some of our aging facilities. As I talked about water and sewer projects, you're going to start to see more and more of those. Some of those are going to be somewhat disruptive as we're doing water and sewer work on Clinton Street, and in the future years coming up Main Street. Again, those were approved in special volume last November, which is wonderful, but now the reality of doing the work, having to do the detouring, people dealing with the disruption, we're going to test for patience over the next 3 to 4 years as we work through these projects. Again, a lot of these facilities are 75 to 100 years old. They're past their useful life. And so we're at a point where these investments are critical and necessary. I know sometimes short-term pain can be frustrating, but I think it's in the best long-term interest of the community. And we also do periodic reviews of our water and sewer plants, and we're going through those now. And the last significant sewer plant upgrade we did was almost 20 years ago. So a lot of the technology that we employed, a lot of the sort of the hardware in the plant itself is needing replacement. So we're in that review process, and we're going to have to bring some of those issues forward to the board for consideration for investment. So a lot of issues in our capital world, and we've been spending a lot of time educating the community, trying to gain community support. Jeff left me a list, and I shared with the board of 35 capital projects that are either in planning stages, in engineering stages, or actually out to bid. So this is going to be a busy time, lots of projects for us to work on, lots of things to do. But again, we're going to have to reach out to the community because a lot of these things are going to require us to partner with grant agencies and other funding opportunities to try to make these things happen. A little bit of positive news, just because we don't want to be entirely overwhelming to everybody and make you all upset and bummed out. The last few bids that we've done, we've actually come in below engineer's estimate, which has been very unusual in the last 5 to 6 years of Vermont. I think, quite frankly, what happened, a lot of federal money came into the state. So we had ARPA money, we had Infrastructure Act money, we had all sorts of federal money flooding the state. Wonderful, because we got to do lots of projects, but I think a lot of our major companies took advantage of some of that, and so our bid prices, I think, reflected the fact that there was lots of work available. A lot of that federal money has dried up, and so now the last few projects we've been putting out to bid, we've seen a lot more competition amongst the different companies. Prices reflect that, and we're seeing, I think, better bid pricing overall. So we're cautiously optimistic. We have some large, like I said, water and sewer work out to bid right now. So we've got our fingers crossed that that environment's actually going to be in our benefit as we start to award these contracts. And then finally, the one thing that we can't control, and everybody asks about, can I get my road paved? And you haven't paved my street in 20 years, and why can't you pave every street in town? And a lot of, quite frankly, the cost of paving really revolves around oil. And this week probably isn't a great week to talk about oil pricing and what the future of oil pricing might be. We were cautiously optimistic that we've had a decent winter going into spring, and the volatility of that really impacts the prices that we receive for the bidding that we're putting out to do for various street projects. So again, we're hoping that whatever these oil price hikes might be, they might be temporary. We're hoping they don't impact our prices, because that cost per ton paving really makes up a dramatic nexus for us in terms of how much additional paving work we can do, or how much paving we can actually do overall, depending upon how high the prices might go. So as you can see, a lot of these issues really are beyond our immediate control, but the impact, the amount of projects we can complete, and the amount of money that ultimately we have available for us to spend. So there are some other capital work that we're going forward with, just to bring to your attention. I think the board has been consistent in trying to invest in equipment and other types of projects to make sure that we're not falling too far behind. As always, we'd like to do more, but everything obviously is costing more money. A couple of things that I wanted to bring to your attention: the cost of our trucks, so the plows and the large equipment that you see out on the roads. We started to get hit now by tariffs. So we have been spending in the high 200s for these. The most recent bid that we looked at to replace a plow in a truck was about $308,000. So those prices are significantly higher than they were 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And those prices don't seem to be, unfortunately, coming back to us. So we might have to look at that as we go forward. Same thing with a pickup truck, looking at the cost of pickup and a plow. That's all right.
Being recorded, that we're getting an echo on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I turn this one off? Or
No,
just stay away from that microphone.
you did that.
Okay, great. So the public works, for example, we have a plow truck, a pickup truck and a plow. That's probably going to be about $80,000. We're going to do a project here fairly soon. The old reservoir dam is going to be removed. That's a hazard mitigation grant project. Those are FEMA funds, so it's 90% federal, 10% is local. Those funds come out of the floods that we have. We did pots of money, we all submit projects, and then we wait to hear if the funded, and all of a sudden, sometimes out of the blue, you get this notification that, hey, you got funded, so now you can push your project forward. So this one is funded, we put it out to bid, and we have a project cost now of about $325,000 for the removal of that earthen dam, bringing that, taking all that material and spreading it to some other places. So that was the one most recent project that came in significantly under budget, so we're quite pleased with that. The Chester Road Bridge over near the shopping center, McDonald's, is in tough shape. That one, unfortunately, is our bridge. We're gonna have to fix that ourselves. That's about a $165,000 estimate right now, and that doesn't fix the bridge, it just basically fixes the portions of that railing and some of the other things that are beyond repair at this point. The police department has to replace some vehicles. The toughest thing with the police, it's not necessarily the mileage, because, you know, we go out in the streets, and occasionally they have to hit lights and sirens. What really happens in the police department is those cars idle. So when these guys are out working, there's a lot of electronics, there's other things in that vehicle. So the idling hours on that engine over time wears that vehicle out much more quickly than it might wear out your car at home. So if we don't have these things replaced on a routine basis, they're not reliable, and the last thing we want to do is have a problem with these, you know, frontline vehicle. Those are roughly in the $70,000 range to replace, and the garage and the chief does a great job of keeping them running, but ultimately they do have to be replaced just because of those engine idling hours, and eventually the mileage gets to be too much. And then finally, we have a big project. We said we got about 3,500 linear feet of water line. That's Clinton Street, you know, Loveland Avenue, Main Street, South Street, and Olive Street. That one's out to bid now. We've got our fingers crossed that, like I said, we'll see a positive bidding environment for that, and then we'll be able to hopefully bring that in under budget, which might help us extend some of those dollars that were previously put together for the bonding from last fall. So in this slide here, as you can see, we just wanted to show you what our tax rate's been somewhat over the last 4 years, and then with the note below that you can see that we have that current year, fiscal 27, placeholder at 4.89%. And I think, as I had mentioned earlier, the board has a commitment to look at using fund balance to drive that number a little lower than that before the taxes go out later in July. So finally, on the paving, so the paving $1 million on Article 5. So that was a special, additional line item that's on the warning. So we've asked for additional $1 million. We have $325,000 in the current highway budget, which will match that. So we discussed earlier the impacts that we're going to, that we're unfortunately tied into the price of oil. So we'll see. But right now we have 9 identified streets that we're hoping to go out to bid on here relatively soon. We want to go to bid early on this because what ends up happening is the paving contractors will book their business pretty early in the spring. So the longer you wait, the more likely it is that you're not going to be able to get their best price. So we're hoping to go out here as soon as we get the results from town meeting. But just to give you a quick rundown of the streets that we're looking at, we've got Route 143, Stevens Brook Road to Wilding Road, and we have some additional paving on Wilding Road, Middle Street, St. Patrick Street, Maple Dell Road, Regal Road, Woodbury Road, and Rockways Mills, which will be a chip seal. So that's in the current engineer's estimate for that, roughly $1,325,000 or so. And the final article that we'll talk to you about is we do have a special article on for another $100,000 for specific construction for sidewalk improvements. One area that we are certainly needing to spend some additional time and money. We have lots of need, and $100,000 sounds like a good start, depending upon where we are and how much additional ADA compliance and other types of investment we have to make in sidewalk. We'll make a dent, but it won't bring us to where we need to be. So we're hopeful that people will take that into consideration and hopefully keep us moving ahead as we try to tackle some of those challenges to try to make ourselves more accessible. And we're going to use, again, a system, an RSMS system So it's basically a pavement management system to look at our highways and to make recommendations on what streets need to be repaved. We're doing the same type of thing with an engineer for the sidewalks, so we'll give us a priority list. And once we get that priority list, we'll work with the board to see where we want to start making an investment and putting together a project. If this is successful, and there's an article, then we can move those projects forward as well. So that's a kind of a 10,000 foot view of the budget. We're really not adding any new positions. It's a budget that is really maintaining status quo. So you can see there's lots of factors that are on the margin, causing us to try to do the best we can with the tax dollars that you do entrust to us. And we are certainly mindful that we do have that responsibility, but there's a lot of pressure on us in terms of expenses and outside influences that are impacting some of the work that we're trying to accomplish. So we just, again, we've got our fingers crossed here that we'll have a good bidding season this spring and into the summer, and hopefully we'll be able to deliver a lot of these projects, at least on budget, if not under budget, as we move through the fiscal year. So, little highlights, and thank you very much. So, you take any questions? Okay, thanks.
All right, is my microphone? I guess it is. So that was Article 4. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on Article 4? Yes, sir. Please, if you're able, step up to the microphone and identify yourself. If you're not able, maybe we can help. And please identify yourself.
My name is Alan Lockwood, I'm a taxpayer in Springfield. I have 4 or 5 questions I'd like to ask. And what happened to the town pool? It hasn't been open for 2 years. A lot of people use it, but what happened to it? Did it need a little liner in it, or what happened to it?
All right. Is there someone from the town who would like to respond? Would it be easier for you, sir, to get all your questions out so you could then return to your seat? Or are you going to take an answer as we go on your questions?
I got some more questions on the phone.
Okay, I just don't want to make you stand longer than we need you to stand.
What? You want the rest of them?
Yeah, so why don't you, yes, we've got a gentleman here offering you a chair. You can keep the microphone and take your chair.
How many new businesses did we get in town this last year?
All right, is
I
there
went 2 years ago, I come to town meeting, and they told me on the front floor, all the stores are gonna be filled in the last 2 years. I haven't seen it happen. We got a few of them downtown, but it's a lot of empty buildings.
Do you want to ask your other questions now, Mr. Lockwood, before the town responds?
No, when I worked all my life, paid for my house, and now the taxes keep going up and up. Then you have to turn around and sell your property and have to go and move down to the high road. That's pretty sad. When the taxes keep going up every year, and it's going to get so, you can't afford your house. You end up selling it, have to sell it. You worked all your life to pay for it. Now, when you're retired, then you gotta turn around and sell it, because you can't afford the taxes. That's pretty sad. When you gotta take a move into the high rise, after you worked all your years to pay for it. That makes me pretty mad.
So, Mr. Walker, was there another question you wanted to raise? Okay, thank you.
So did you find out what happened?
I think someone from the town is gonna respond here, Mr. Walker.
Sure, Alan, no, Steve was putting the microphone back in. Yep, so the town pool needs some significant monies to get it back up to, so we could operate it. Last I heard, it was well over $100,000. It needs a new pump house, it needs a new pump, the building itself needs. Yeah, the inside the pool house, the walls need to be rebuilt, the plumbing needs to be rebuilt. So, with the number of kids that were attending the town pool, it was decided the year that we tried to get it fixed and we failed, that we contracted with the Edgar May Health and Recreation Center so the kids would have access to a pool. And so we contracted with them, and that worked out. It's costing the town $20,000 for that contract, but kids were able to get down there, pay their $2 like they were at the town pool.
They have to pay a couple of hours to go down there, when you go down there and use the pool, or fun.
It's just like they did at the town pool. There was usually a fee for attending the pool. So the decision was made that we did not want to put that kind of repair money into the pool, to bring it up to its usefulness. So and we had some pretty good luck at the Edgar May with kids going down there swimming. So until we find some money and repair that, that's the position that we're in.
So it's what it costs by the vet to fix it.
Yes.
I thought quite a few people used it, that's why I wondered what happened to it.
Back in the old day when we were younger, the place was packed. You couldn't find a place to park yourself to go swimming, but that's not the case more recently in history. People have pools at home, et cetera, and they weren't attending the town pool. Your question number 2 for new business, Mike Schmitz, President of the Chamber of Commerce, and he's going to speak to that.
I got one more question I'd like to ask.
Hold on just a minute if you would, and you'll be handed the microphone. Mr. Walker.
I got one more question I'd like to ask. Hey, what's gonna happen to all that empty property down, Clinton Street, where the Jane L. building was?
Okay, thank you for that. We'll see if someone from the town wants to speak to that issue as well.
We need, I can tell you what we need down there. We need a great big grocery store. We got one grocery store in the plaza. And years ago, I used to come downtown with my parents, and we had 3 grocery stores right down Main Street. Now, we only got one big grocery store in the plaza. We need something big. Now,
Okay.
if you don't want to shop at Shaw, you have to go out of town. You know, you go to Primark shopping.
Okay.
We need something big. And that probably will never, I'll probably never see it happen in my day.
Thank you, Mr. Lockwood. I think Mr. Schmidt is going to answer at least one of your questions.
Mr. Lockwood, great questions. Not only do I sit on the select board, but I am also the president of the Chamber of Commerce. Last year, we entered 30 new businesses into the chamber. Hello? 30 new members into the Chamber of Commerce. We have one storefront on Main Street that is vacant. We have some tenants that haven't moved in, but they are all being rented. So we have done a considerable amount in months, and they're expecting multitudes more to fill the entire 200,000. To fill the entire 200,000 square feet of that building. I'll step and answer. Excuse me. The fourth question about the J&L property, and while the best answers for J&L property would be directed to the Springfield Regional Development Corporation, your question about adding a grocery store, as the chamber is very involved in trying to get Caney Drugs to fill the vacant Rite Aid space and other businesses. These businesses are national businesses and have metrics that they require X number of people and X number of traffic before they will invest in an area. And we are marginal on that at best. So while we do have 13,000 people pass through Clinton and Main Street every day, we don't have the regional population that would support some of these stores that we would like to see. We've talked to Trader Joe's, we've talked to many other organizations, and we just don't fit their demographics. It's not that we're not trying, we're definitely trying, but we've got to build this one brick at a time.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody like to speak to high taxes? Sure. So Alan, you mentioned the high taxes and how that's hindrance on the elderly or others without less income, and they're having to move to the high rise or some other type of housing. That is something your select board, town manager, department heads are all concerned with. We do our due diligence each year to try to keep taxes down as low as we can. But the town manager pointed out some of the fixed costs that we have, that with healthcare insurance and wages and stuff. Those are contractual with our 4 unions. Even though we negotiate them every 3 to 5 years, those don't seem to go down, and that's not just a Springfield problem. The healthcare is a state problem, and we're looking at that the legislature, but it's difficult, and taxes just don't want to see you go down unless you want to look at cutting services. And people in Springfield have shown us time and time again that they're supporting the town budget, and they appreciate the services that we have, especially with our 3 big ones, police, fire, EMS, and highway.
Yes, we have plenty of money, when all the shop is gone, the town has plenty of money to operate the town. Now, it's up to the taxpayers, the property owners, have got to put the bill out. There's not enough business in town to help us out.
That's correct, and one additional point, follow-up, it's not for everyone, but those that are having the median income, federal median incomes, can apply for tax relief, and their property taxes for education are capped. The state has done some of that work for us.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Lockwood. Are there others who would like to be heard on Article 4? Please step forward.
How about now? Yes, I can hear that. Good evening, my name is Steve Geller. I live at 152 Summer Street. And I know Mr. Pickup spoke about, he sort of went over to talk about Article 5 a bit for what seemed like more major road construction or road repaving work, and I couldn't help notice that Summer Street was not on that list. Those of us who live on Summer Street or drive on Summer Street know that it's become virtually a one-lane road when you go around the corner, heading down to intersect with Cherry Hill, because the road is so broken up that people are, I'm afraid, for my vehicle, that I'm going to bring an axle on it. So I'm just wondering, to what extent does the overall general budget accommodate road repair or at least patching for roads like Summer Street that are becoming virtually impassable on some parts of the road?
So that's a good example. Again, we talked about what commodity pricing might be in terms of the 9 areas, the 9 streets that I highlighted in the previous discussion. Summer Street probably needs a 1-inch middle pave and another like the minimum just to maintain for the next 7 to 10 years. If we have good pricing on the 9 projects that we described, we would look at Summer Street and a couple other areas that are also in the same type of shape. So if we do have positive results from the bids, we will try to incorporate that into the budget that we already have. So we're aware, again, that's why we're hopeful in this bidding environment, we might see some positive results, and we might be able to stretch those dollars and do some additional work. So we're well aware that Summer Street's on that list.
And if the bids are not favorable, is there at least money in the budget to patch so that you don't have to continue worrying about justified?
We'll do some patching, but as everybody knows, especially this time of the year without the hot mix, putting the cold mix material in those holes pretty much is like who's there and stay in for a couple of days or a week or two and then pop right out. So that's probably the least cost beneficial way to approach that street, but we'll have to do something if that's the case.
All right, is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 4? I see no hands in person, and none online, so we'll move to Article 5. Shall the town vote to appropriate the sum of $1,100,000 for repaving, road construction, gravel road improvements, and ancillary professional services for the projects specified in the Road Surface Management System Report dated December 2021, or other duly warranted sidewalk improvements? That's the article. I think we did hear from the town manager regarding that issue. Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard on Article 5? Seeing no hands and nothing online, we'll move to Article 6. Shall the town vote to appropriate the sum of $100,000 for sidewalk reconstruction in various locations throughout the town? Again, I think this was addressed in part by the town manager. Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard on Article 6? I see no hands and nothing online, at least as far as I can see. So we'll move to Article 7. Shall the town vote to appropriate the sum of $10,000 to offset Springfield area public access TV's operating costs to record, broadcast, archive, and promote up to 25 select board meetings, up to 25 school board meetings, the annual town meeting, and the outreach work it does to promote government transparency, media literacy, and community connection in our community. And I have a note here that maybe Kevin Paquette, if he is present, may have wanted to be heard on this.
Hello. I haven't done this before, so I was kind of hoping there would be an item ahead of me with someone who had to do this and follow their lead. My name is Kevin Paquette. I am the executive director of Springfield Area Public Access Television, SAPA TV. I have been in this role since last April, but I started working for SAPA in May of 2015, coming up on 11 years. I'll keep this as short as possible because I know way more information about it than is of interest to anyone, but public access TV stations, of which Vermont has 25, are or were originally funded by revenue collected from the cable companies by the Cable Act of, I believe, 1984, either 1984 or 86, which made the rather solemn-esque decision that because the cable companies wanted to run their private lines on public land, there should be public space on the private lines. And that revenue worked well for several decades. We were founded in 1998. But as most of you likely know, cable is going out of fashion. And there is no direct equivalent in the internet space for the money that we used to be getting through customers' cable subscriptions. The state of Vermont has stepped up and they provide a purse each year which is dispersed to the 25 stations through our supra organization, the Vermont Access Network, which runs the formula and then writes checks in the fall. And the target for this is to keep us at 2022 revenue levels, which was the last high peak during the pandemic when the numbers of subscribers actually briefly went back up before they started to decline again. However, the nice thing about government funding is that you have it until you don't. And I, in my comparatively brief time in the directorship, have sought to diversify our revenue sources. I am following on a lead set by my predecessor, Amy Parnell, previous director, who also asked the town of Springfield for the same amount last year, in which the town was very kind and gave us. In that calendar year, 2025, I checked earlier this evening, we covered 18 select board meetings and 32 school board meetings as well as the annual meeting of that year. I put some of the other particulars on page 37 of your report, but I don't want to drag this out too much longer. My hope is that the voters of Springfield will again vote to grant us this amount of money to help us defray ongoing costs, the rising cost of inflation, the surging cost of electronics, and just day-to-day incidentals. And for those of you who are not familiar with us and live within Springfield, Chester, Weathersfield, or Reading, Vermont, we are your public access station, and you can come in and rent equipment for free, get training for free, make studio shows if you wish. And we are available on Comcast channel 1077 for our public channel, 1087 for our government channel. And on VTEL, we are channel 1066, 1067, and 1077. But we're available on both and on our website, sapatv.org, where you can watch for free. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bouquet. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 7? I see no hands. Apparently nothing online. So we'll move to Article 8. Shall the town vote to exempt from taxation the premises at 7 Morgan Street, parcel 023/1/30, owned by Turning Point Recovery Center of Springfield, Vermont, Inc. The exemption for such a period of time, as long as said premises are not used for any private use or any use inconsistent with its present charitable use. Such exemption shall be limited to 5 years, as is required by Section 3840 of Title 32 Vermont statutes annotated. That's Article 8. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on Article 8? Say your name, please step forward and identify yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. My name is Hayden Hill, town resident. I had a general question that I feel that the public would be interested in knowing. It would be the same for Vermont. What is the estimated loss of tax revenue if this article is passed?
Thank you. Is there someone from the town who would like to respond?
Good question.
Challenge with these tax exempt properties are, again, because the assessor doesn't put the normal valuation on there, it would be difficult for us to be able to give you just a raw number based on what a normal assessed valuation would be. Typically, there's not a significant loss to the community because these parcels are themselves not large. So we're not talking about a 20 or 30 or 40,000 square foot kind of facility where it might be a significant loss to commercial or other kinds of rentals. But if you take it as an example of what a normal taxpayer might pay, there is some impact. There's a couple, $1,000 for their regular property taxes and obviously other impacts as well from the facilities that are there. So the tax exempt status is not particularly free as it goes. But to get you a true number, we have to ask the assessor to give us an update on the property valuation, which unfortunately we don't have for these tax exempts.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on Article 8? Yes, sir. Please step forward and identify yourself.
Gregory, 69 Mineral Street. I'd just like to know if the owner of the property is private, nonprofit, or not-for-profit. Thank you.
I wonder if someone from the town happens to know these folks. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you walking forward. Whether the entity is a for-profit charitable entity, which is it?
Pastor Radcliffe, CEO, Turning Point, this is a nonprofit.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on Article 8? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Article 9. Shall the town vote to exempt from taxation the premises at 5 School Street, parcel 01B/2/30? Oh, do we have questions online on Article 8? I'm not able to make that out from here.
Carolyn.
We're told here that it's handled. But thank you for letting us know. Okay, so that was Article 8. So we will move on to Article 9. I'll start over. Shall the town vote to exempt from taxation the premises at 5 School Street, parcel 01B/2/30, owned by North School Preservation Society, Inc. The exemption for such period of time, as long as said premises are not used for any private use or any use inconsistent with its present charitable use. Such exemption shall be limited to 5 years, as is required by Section 3840 of Title 32 of Vermont statutes annotated. Yes, please step forward and identify yourself.
Morning or evening, Mr. Moderator. Again, Hayden Hill, Same question as I asked before, do we have an estimate of the potential lost revenue? And also, I'm curious, I've never heard of the North School Preservation Society, just curious what it does and things of that nature. Thank you.
The answer to your question is nothing, because the school was not tax exempt before the North School Preservation Society acquired it from the school to be tax exempt. So I don't know what the value of the property is, but it's not on the tax rolls now, and it's never been on the tax rolls. So to answer your question is it has no.
And I see another hand. Please step forward and identify yourself.
Hi, Steve Geller again. The second part of the gentleman's question was, what is the charitable use to which this property is being put? I think there's a lot of us who don't know what the North School Preservation Society is all about and what they're trying to accomplish through that tax exempt property tax status.
Don't look at me.
Is there a bet?
My name is Judy Stern, I live on Main Street. What I'm trying to do is bring that school back for historic reasons. And it's a long, hard drive with the sales that they have. And they would like to be able to have the ice skating rink back, but you haven't had the weather to do that, which is open to the public. And also they now have the dog park, which nobody wants to have there. So they still let the community use it for Star Springfield. But it's been a long struggle to get the money they need to do all the work. And probably the division, some of it said it's not worth having a lot of money. And we're just trying to preserve some of our history as schools. And we can get community members. But it's good school in its day, but that's what I'm trying to do. I need to preserve some of our history.
Great, thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wishes to be, I see another hand here, please, if you don't mind stepping forward, and if you don't mind, please step forward and identify yourself.
John Bond, 809, Medford Road in Springfield. Just a point of clarification, when we refer to tax exempt status, it's my understanding that that means the town tax is forgiven. But for those properties that we allow tax exempt status, the town is on the hook for the school board, for the school portion of that tax. So not only don't we get the income tax, the regular town tax on that property, but now we're paying their portion of the school tax. Is that correct?
Is there someone from the town or school that would like to respond to the question?
So yeah, if there's any property value to the if there's any property value to 7 School Street, which is the old North School, that is on the tax, and I just looked it up, it's like $208,000 total. And that includes the 5.25 acres that encompasses that campus. And yes, we exempt the town tax, but there's any school tax that gets absorbed into the other property owners. That's correct. But just as a point of clarification, these two properties have had this status previously, and it has to be renewed every 5 years, and that's why it's on the ballot this year. They had this status the previous 5 years, and now it's the time where they have to be reestablished.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 9? I see no hands, so we'll move on to Article 10. Shall the voters of the Springfield Town School District approve a payment of $50 per meeting for the town school district moderator for the ensuing year, the funds for which are included in the school budget. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this issue? I see no hands, so we'll move on to Article 11. Shall the voters of the Springfield Town School District approve the payment to each school board member of $500 to help defray the costs and expenses incurred in serving in that office, the funds for which are included in the school budget? Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on Article 11? I see no hands, so we'll move on to Article 12. Shall the voters of the Springfield Town School District authorize the town treasurer, subject to the direction and approval of the school board, to borrow money in anticipation of taxes needed to meet the requirements of the town school district for the ensuing year? That's Article 12. Does anyone wish to be heard on Article 12? I see a hand. Please step forward and identify yourself.
Hello, Katie Hill. Regarding the specific article, has this been something that we've had to do before? And if so, what would the prevailing, I would say, interest rate would be? Is it coming from a private bank or is it bond measure? And also, when do we usually get that on? So,
All right, thank you for that. Is there someone from the school who would like to reply?
So this is Peter Burrows, Superintendent. Good evening. This is a standard article in districts and towns throughout Vermont. The timing, and every town is different in terms of when taxation happens and the cost that the school district, the revenue that is needed to run the school system. But oftentimes there's a lag between when taxes are collected and come back to schools, and so there is this, as I said, this article, which is a standard article every year. This won't be going away.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 12? So we'll move on to Article 13. Shall the voters of the Springfield Town School District approve the school board to spend $41,458,651, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. It is estimated that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in education spending of $15,189 per pupil. This projected spending per pupil is 9.26% higher than spending for the current year. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this?
I think so. All right, I'm going to share a presentation with you all here. All right. Again, Peter Burrows, Superintendent, and this is my first budget that I've developed here. I'm really excited to be here tonight to talk to you all about the process that we went through to develop this budget, what this budget represents, the team that put this together, some of the work that we are engaged in now as we look at the state of the district on our 4 schools, and we really start to build the systems that we know are really important to make sure that every student is getting what they need. The process to understand education funding in Vermont is pretty challenging. And so to start out this year, we decided that instead of throwing a lot of separate pieces of paper at the community and hoping that they kind of stick, that we would try to put all of the information together, both on the school budget, on how education funding works in Vermont, in terms of the strategic priorities that we've identified as a district. All of that is included in this budget book. There is a QR code up there. I'm not sure your phones can reach that far. I can actually walk around with my laptop if you want to try to get the QR code there. There are also physical copies in the back as well. But this is kind of a compendium. It's a collection of all of the budgetary information for this year. We hope that it's accessible. It's really important that you all, as the folks that support this budget year after year, that there is real understanding about both how everything works, and we're trying to be as transparent as we can about all the information, and also the why. So we're going to talk a little about the why in terms of our school budget, and we'll also be talking about some of the specifics. You will see in the presentations, it's fairly short, but there are page numbers, so you can reference in the budget, or you can go there, and you can pull this up on your phone if you want to as well. So our priorities this year in building the FY27 budget were, one, to really focus on aligning our 4 schools and the systems within our 4 schools. One of the things that came up pretty clearly when I first arrived, and some of you were part of some of the listening sessions I did, we did create a development plan report this past summer, which outlined all of the strengths of our district and a lot of the areas that we honestly looked at and said, these are areas that we really need to lean in on together, and we need to tackle these. This year we started in my first year here, an action plan, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing in terms of that action plan as it is reflected in this FY27 budget. So this budget, this FY27 budget, is not a rollover budget. It's not, this is what we did last year, so we're going to do the same thing again this year. We really did look at our spending, we looked at our staffing, we looked at what we will need next year, and we worked obviously within some pretty significant fiscal constraints to try to create a budget that I think reflects a powerful budget to move our district. So some of the key work that this budget represents going into next year, one is implementing an instructional framework, and that's for non-educators. That might sound like, what does that really mean? What that means is really making sure that at every single grade level, we are assessing students with the right tools, that we're approaching teaching and learning in a coordinated way, so that classroom to classroom and grade level to grade level, it's connected and it's impactful. And when it's not, and we see a student isn't learning, then we know what to do when that's happening. So in a kind of, for an overview, that work is really the bedrock of any strong district. And we are really, really focused on that. Secondly, it was really apparent to me when I first got here that we need to 100% be aligned on literacy and be sure that every student is reading by 3rd grade. If we don't get that, all the other pieces fall apart. That is, statistically, in all sorts of different research, that is proven that has to be our top priority. So we have spent this year we've been absolutely committed to that. We have a committee that's working on looking at all sorts of different programs and approaches. We are now in a pilot phase where we are trying out some different things. And again, we're not having one system at Elm and one system at Union and a different one at Riverside. We're looking at preschool through 12th grade alignment. That will pay huge, huge dividends year after year after year. I know within the school system and in a lot of conversations I've had in the community, there's a lot of excitement for this, and honestly, like a sense of like, oh, great, like, this is what we want. that makes me realize it's the right thing. We are, the final thing I will say, this budget supports work that will come out of a strategic planning process, which we are kicking off in the next week. For the remainder of this school year, we will be engaged in talking with you all in the community, working internally to look at not just next year, but mapping out over the next 4 years, what are the different things that we really need to be focused on year after year, and to be building sequentially so that we aren't in a position of just responding to challenges, but we really have an eye towards what we're developing. So look for information coming soon with a kind of community town hall to bring folks together to talk about the kinds of things you think we need to be thinking about as we look ahead. The world is changing rapidly. Education is changing rapidly. We are trying to move and adapt to those changes, and it's really important that all of us are in the room together to do that work. So to our budget and budget development, you're not expected to read this, but this is within the budget book. This lays out from the beginning of the summer to today, all of the work that we've done on this budget. A budget is not developed by a few people. It's not just developed right here. The board is is at the highest level of this budget development, and we take our kind of marching orders from the board in terms of the vision and mission and direction of budget development. It is developed obviously with the community, and we've done a lot of outreach over this past year in going to the library and going to stores throughout town, just trying to meet people to talk about the budget, to learn more from the community about what the community cares about, and to try to bake that into this budget. We have some great leaders and administrators and some staff members who are here. Do you all want to stand up? I just want to recognize you. I'm just the person talking, but they do the real work. They are very responsible for helping to shape the vision and all the things that we need to invest in this budget. And they really know their schools and care about the students in their schools, as you know. This is our enrollment. We are on a somewhat of a steady decline like most other communities outside of Chittenden County. You probably heard, Vermont 20 years ago at 100,000 students, now we're below 80,000 in the state. So this tracks, again, in most towns. We did have, someone pointed out, thankfully, an issue with our formula from the previous printing of the budget book. That has been updated online, and there are copies in the back. If you got a paper copy, there's a little addendum that has the correct numbers, so just as an FYI. So here are expenditures. In terms of, and I'm not going to read off of this graph is in your budget book on page 34. But some of the drivers of our expenditures for this year. So salaries are up 5-6%, benefits around 10%. Our literacy investment, which I mentioned, is $1.2 billion. This is mitigated by, we did have 3 reductions due to enrollment. So I talked about the enrollment numbers dropping, so we are responding to that loss of enrollment with some reductions at Elm and at high school. So looking at that 1.96% increase, I think you heard this from the town too, and you experience it in your own life, costs seem to be magnifying exponentially right now. And so that typical thing we used to think about where everything's rising 1-2%, now seems like it's expanding a lot more. So we're experiencing the same pressures that the town has experienced in terms of costs. And we responded to that by making a number of reductions in this budget to keep that expenditure increase at that 1.96%. Revenues are mostly tracking with our expenditures. You can see the total is around 2%. Our tuition is up, interest income is up, and our prior year surplus is up 26% in terms of looking at those revenue numbers. So the revenue, really no significant changes in revenue for the FY27 budget. We included a cost center breakdown in the budget book just to give you a sense of how much is being expended at each of our schools, in special education, our physical plant costs, capital planning, as well as debt service that we're getting towards the end of, and then district-wide services which expand over the entire district. This year we had a really hard time trying to figure out how to project what our tax increases would be because of all of the changes happening right now with Act 73. So many of you have been reading about what's happening in Vermont, statewide, in terms of the educational landscape. There's a lot of talk about consolidating districts. There have been a number of maps that have been discussed in the legislature. One map had Springfield joining with Two Rivers. Another map had Springfield in the center with the tech center and a number of schools around Springfield, like kind of looking at the center into Springfield. So we're not to the end of that, but part of what's happening in the legislature this year is there's probably the most uncertainty I've seen. This is year 13 for me. And this is the most uncertainty I've seen in terms of where we're going to land with our tax yield number, which sets our tax rate. So we know, and Rick, our CFO, who has more experience than I do, have kind of talked through, how do we kind of portray or share kind of where we're going to end up. So we really focused with this budget on bringing our expenditures down as much as we could to that 1.96, and that has been our focus. And we feel like we've done a good job of bringing as many costs down as we could, cutting things that we thought we didn't need to keep that increase as low as we could. The number you see in your budget, I know when you look at the town costs and the school costs, and this is true in every town in the state and outside of the state, the way that we as a town are paying for education is not that $42 million that you see in terms of our overall budget. So this chart, which is in our budget book as well, you can take a look at it to get some of the fine print here. But we are paying for roughly 20% of the cost. So taxpayers in Springfield are not paying 42 million. They are paying that $9.162 million for this budget. And then other state revenue is supporting the rest of that budget. One of the most complicated things about Vermont is we vote locally on our budgets for schools that are state funded, which makes us fairly unique. There are some states where you vote in your local community and you raise the money within your own community, but here we've got this kind of hybrid system. And that is one of the things actually in Act 73 that folks are talking about changing. So that is the budget in a nutshell. As I said, there's a lot of information here. We are happy if you have questions after tonight that aren't answered and you're kind of wondering about things, and it could be after the vote too. Please reach out to us. We want to talk about it. We want to both learn from you and build understanding together. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting Springfield Schools.
Thank you. So this is Article 13. Are there others who would like to be heard on Article 13? Please step forward and identify yourself.
Kevin Morgan, and I live right on Mount Vernon Street Extension. So one of the concerns I have, I've lived here 16 years. You said in your book there, the median income is $65,000. Everything's going up, and I don't know, man. This poor fellow here was talking about how as you get older, you can't afford the taxes anymore. And you were talking about the state kicks in. I pay state tax too. So it comes out of my pocket all over the place. The gas prices in Vermont are high. Governor Scott told us to be very careful with the budget because, what you said, we have less population than students. But the cost nationwide, from what I understand, we're the highest per student in what we spend. And yet our SAT scores are in the tank. So, and plus all of the other things, budget items that are going to hit us. I live on less than 3/4 of an acre property. I have a 1941 two-story two-bedroom. I pay $4,000 a year in taxes. That's nuts for what I have. So all I'm saying is that I think that, and I hope that more than 1/7 of the voting population actually comes out tomorrow and votes, because that's generally about all that comes out. Because I'm really concerned about the expenses in our town, as I think and I hope you should. I don't make a lot of money. As a matter of fact, my level of raises and my wife's level of raises doesn't compare to the amount that you're asking for us to consider in our taxes being raised. So I hope the town considers that. I hope people pay attention. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. There's a question online. Yeah. Okay, we have an Eric Schubert with a question online. Hopefully we can make this work.
I realize that we've got a relatively new superintendent who's got experience in this realm. I'm wondering if the board can outline how this budget directly addresses those gaps, or if there are many of them across all grade levels, it seems. And what measurable improvements taxpayers should expect.
Thank you, Mr. Schubert. Is there someone from the school district who would like to reply? I don't think I can. I hope whoever I hand the microphone to can.
So, and Eric will correct me if I got it wrong, but I think his question was, what does the board see in our budget that's going to correct the low test scores and the school performance metrics that we're seeing across the state, and how we're going to measure improvements going forward? I think what Peter outlined in the budget proposal, where we're concentrating on literacy through the pre-K through third grade, is of the utmost importance to improving test scores throughout the district. It's that learning at those younger ages that flows up to the middle school, the high school, and then ultimately post-graduation, where the students that are in the community and go on and hopefully become great members of the community. We know test scores are low. We know the schools are struggling. What Peter has done over the last year in going out into the community and engaging with the schools, seeing where we're falling short, everything that we need to do, is setting that curriculum foundation throughout plumbers, HVAC, linemen. There's good things happening here. We just have to work it out.
I mean, I have a lot to say. I love this question. The one thing that I've talked a lot about with staff and, you know, the need to both improve test scores, but really the focus is on improving students' ability to be successful when they graduate from high school, right? And the thing that we've been talking about a lot, I think, in the school district is when we are aligned, when we know where we're headed, and we are able to have a system that accurately gives us the information we need to be able to address learning deficits in a way that all of us working on those issues are connected together. We know, and we know this based on research, that if we have these systems in place, it will make an impact on student outcomes. And that is something that I think has been refreshing for folks to hear, because in education, there are a lot of initiatives that come and there are a lot of initiatives that go. And anyone in education who's been around for a while can say, 18 years ago, people were talking about, small group learning, and then 18 years later, it comes back and it's retitled, but it's the same thing. So there is this kind of problem in education where we're constantly seeking an answer, but we're not thoughtful enough to build the systems and iterate those over time to be able to make an impact. So that is the work that I'm committed to. I think it's the work that we're committed to, and I'm excited to engage in all of that.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schubert. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 13? We have a few. Please step forward.
Thank you. Steve Keller again, on Summer Street. I have two questions that are somewhat related and respond to what some of the questions are that have already been asked. Peter, you spoke about you alluded to the fact that having an impact on the outcomes for kids' ability to perform educationally is a process that takes time. And I know that from all my work that I've done as director of a large public service organization. You don't just snap your fingers and voila, everything changes overnight or even within a year. I'm wondering if you could describe to what extent you have mapped out how those improvements, as you've been describing them, which it's a very ambitious plan. On the surface, I think it's a good one. But what does that mean for specific outcomes within a particular time period? For example, I saw in the state report card about the schools that had been put into the comprehensive support and improvement list, that they recognize that there's a 3-year period that they expect the schools to improve adequately to get them off that list. And so what's the district thinking about in terms of what sorts of outcomes, how quickly any measurable kinds of improvements will be able to be seen? I want to make sure our expectations are aligned between what you know from your experience and what the public and parents and taxpayers are expecting to see. So that's the first part. Secondly, I see that your budget is it's less than a 2% increase over the previous year, but according to the Warren article, the projected spending per pupil is over 9% higher, and the number of the drop in enrollment is only about less than 1% from the current year. So I don't see how those numbers, jive. Can you explain how that is that a 2% increase will result in a 9% increase in the cost per pupils.
Yeah. So first question, in terms of, how long does this take and what are we going to be looking at? I have worked in districts and I spent a fair bit of time on the West Coast in Oregon and was a high school principal there. And in my district there, our whole focus was on the state assessment. So that is our BTCAP, what it's called here. While that was meaningful, we were able to push those test scores, I always felt like we were missing something in terms of a holistic view of the student and what they needed to be successful after college. I think what we're looking at here in terms of what we're going to be tracking, certainly we're going to be looking at the state assessment and the importance of that. That's more important for the district. It's not as important for students. And students increasingly don't take those state assessments as seriously as they used to. So even, I would say, 20 years ago, it was very different. Like the degree of seriousness with which a student would approach those assessments. And this is true nationally. This is not a Springfield thing, this is a national thing. So we will be looking at state assessments, but the state assessment is just a summative number. The thing that we are more focused on is our diagnostic assessments, which happen 3 times a year. We're looking at our formative assessment. Formative just means as you're teaching something and you're kind of checking for understanding, and then you're altering what you're teaching, or you're redesigning what you're teaching to address the learning needs of different students. So that assessment is way more important to us than the state assessment. The state assessment is important for us to show how we're doing as a district. It's more of an accountability measure, whereas the other assessment system that we are developing through that instructional framework I mentioned, that is more what moves students. It's more what gives us the ability to know these things that we're putting in place are working or they're not working, and we need to do something about that. We need to change those systems to address, if I'm a teacher and 70% of my kids are not understanding what's happening, it's not their fault, it's on me, right? So I need that information to be able to respond to that.
And you have ways of measuring that area of improvement outside of the standardized testing?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of that, having that connected approach where, the whole first grade team is meeting together and working together and talking through that so that they're learning together and building that together as well. And then your second question was, yes, so that number in the article relates, as you mentioned, our enrollment is down. Our enrollment is counted as a weighted number. So you were seeing physical, in the budget book, those are physical students, but what from the state, they give us weights based on certain factors. So if a student is, it's called free and reduced lunch, when we were paying for lunch, that would weight more heavily, that student weights more heavily in terms of us receiving, revenue for those students. So that's why that delta is there, is our long-term weighted ADM, it's called. And you may see in some budget documents, LTW ADM. That's why that number is different. Yeah.
Thank you. I think there were some other hands who wish to be heard on Article 13, the school budget. I think I saw a hand over here first.
Thank you. Edward Hammond, Lincoln Street, Springfield. One of the things I'm always hearing year after year when people go on the budget is just $40 million, and it's like an automatic no. So I like that little chart that you guys put up, that you had there, the pie chart. And I don't know if it's possible going in voting, if it was even that could be put outside. I know you can't bring stuff in prior to Aaron can probably correct me on this, but something like that on the board going in, that maybe simply has state, 29.43, other 3.05, Springfield 9.162, but forget about you gotta keep it simple, forget about the non-residential and residential, you know, and then having 21.48% and federal $1 million, and that, to me, I think that would say a lot, you know, because it's, you know, I think it's always too much. No, I didn't think of that. You guys have done great presentations tonight, and thank you for less than 2%. You really, you know, you get it. Nice point, though. That's it. It's just a thought. Whether it can happen, it might make a difference. You know, so we're not voting like a month from now. Okay,
Great, thank you. Do we have someone online? What do you say? And I know there are other hands in the audience, but we've got a question online. Oh, Eric Schubert has a follow-up question, I guess. Please, Mr. Schubert, go ahead.
There's sort of follow-up, and maybe a summary of the questions that are just asked. I'm wondering if the board can share specific how community feedback changed or influenced budget decisions this year, particularly in areas that like tackle performance measures. And then the secondary question to that, that maybe there's some really there to it that I haven't seen that more easily. Can the board commit to publishing a clear accountability framework that shows and tracks how that spending, those choices that are tied to it, are connected to those improved returns?
So the first question was community feedback and how that factored into the budget decisions that the board made. So one of the things that we were trying to do is to keep the overall cost of the budget down. As a board, we can only control so much based on state inputs, federal inputs, town level appraisal, which is real estate across the state, and how much that affects our taxes as a community member. So we were looking to keep those rates down, which we feel like we did with that 1.96% overall increase, which is lower than the Social Security COLA number. So trying to keep that lower than what people on fixed incomes may see as a raise, but also looking at some of the feedback was bringing the music program back to the high school, which we're working on doing. So we'll have a full-time position at the high school for music next year, which we're bringing back instead of a half-time position. So the district's done a great job of growing it up at Riverside and then bringing it back to the high school. Feedback around community engagement, Union Street Schools doing a good job with lunches with students, meeting with the principal, bringing the community back in help and trying to improve our infrastructure. One of the things that we heard during the feedback one was what's going to happen with Act 73 and where does Springfield reside in that kind of conversation. We've done a great job in our fiscal buildings, trying to upkeep and be on the forefront of improving the schools, and we're in a very good place compared to surrounding districts whose buildings are in need of repairs. Ours, we're all sitting in those cafeteria that was updated, is ready for more students, and we think will be a hub when Act 73 comes along. And then your second question, Eric, was around transparency, around tracking the improvements. Did I catch that right? Accountability and improvements.
Yeah, essentially, how do you connect the dots? So that when there's a dollar spent, $20 improvement.
I think that's a harder thing to see because a dollar spent for one student is much different from a dollar spent on another, right? So a dollar spent on a high-performing student is much different than a dollar spent on a special education student, for example. So I think Peter has some great ideas of how we can track that across the district, and we've been trying to be very transparent in the board meetings about where we are and where we're trying to go. I know you and I have had conversations
Jimmy, the thing I would add to that is, I think as we are developing these systems, it's really hard to measure dollar for dollar or to measure investment if you don't have anything consistent to lean it up against. So the work we are doing, we will be able to monitor it and determine if it's being effective, and if it's not, we won't continue investing in it. And that will be, I think, in terms of understanding how investment drives outcomes, the work that we are doing to build this infrastructure will enable us to have those conversations. Right now, it's very hard to have those conversations if we don't have that infrastructure to reflect the analysis off of.
Thank you. So I know there were some other hands who wanted to be heard on Article 13, the school budget. Are there other hands in the audience of people who wanted to be heard? Yeah, maybe Mr. Walker, why don't you stay seated? We'll see if we can have somebody bring you a microphone.
My name is Alan Rockwood. I'm a taxpayer in Springfield. And what was the reason for your half days of school? When I went to school, we went to school 5 days a week. And you kids are now, this back in January or ever when it was, it was only going 3.5 days. And you're spending Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, no school. What was the reason for it?
So throughout the school year, and this is one of the tensions, I think, in any school district in the country, you have to build in time for all the things that we talked about tonight that we're working to develop cannot be developed if the staff don't have time to come together and get training, help to build these systems, help to reflect on their efficacy, all those things we have to have time for. What that runs up against is the need to work with students directly, and the challenges for families when there are too many kind of haphazard weeks or days. And so every year we look at that, we talk to parents, we talk to staff members, the leadership team discusses this at length, and we try to find that kind of golden mean of enough time for staff to meet to do all the things that you need to do with staff. And if you've worked anywhere where you were a staff member or you were leading staff, you know how important that time is. Staff have a contracted day. So we can't keep staff, after the school day is out, staff are no longer kind of on the clock, so to speak, generally. Sometimes they are, but generally not. So that is something that we have to work every year to figure out what is that perfect amount of time to work together as a learning community and not have such a challenging impact. And so this is not a this year thing, right? This is something that every district does in different kinds of ways. I know next year we do coordinate our calendar with the other sending schools to RBTC. And this year, I think we did a really good job of working closely with both Wyndham Northeast and Two Rivers, who are the three of us are kind of the main senders to RBTC to align some of that professional development time so that is aligned across this whole kind of region.
Now I have another question. How many children graduated last year? High school last year?
It was around 70, someone else might have, and you might not know exactly.
It was 78 or 80,
Okay.
but,
70?
78 or 80.
78, yeah. I mean, I think we are always looking to,
Big schools, one of the biggest schools in that, in Vermont, and it's less kids every year, and it's costing us twice as much money for taxes, twice as much for expenses, and it's less kids every year. Something don't add up, yeah.
do you have a question about that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lockwood. I see another hand, please step forward.
Hello again, Shane now. I have many questions for the school board, but I'm just trying to stick to the article, which is not the budget itself. Is health insurance costs incorporated into that budget? And if so, is it where it's like the Green Mountain Board sets the plan and it is what it is and we can't really change it? Or is it something where we can offer different options to the employees, to the staff, high deductible plans, things like that? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so that, we have a set rate that we are told this is going to be the increase. This could be high, they provide us with that rate. This year it's lower, I mean, it has been double digits, and as you're alluding to, it's the industry as a whole is out of control, and yeah, the costs are within the budget, and they are, as you can imagine, they're increasingly a larger portion of the budget because they are increasing at a rate much greater than salaries, and salaries make up roughly, in terms of percentage, about 80% of the budget is people. So, yeah, if you did a 10-year study, you'd be kind of shocked to see how much more a part of the budget those healthcare costs have become.
Thank you. Are there others who wish to be heard about Article 13? Please step forward.
Chuck Gregory, Mineral Street. I think if our property taxes were 60% lower, nobody in town would have problems with this budget. 60 years ago, our property taxes were 60% lower because we had a capital base, but Wall Street came in and took the whole thing out. Precision Valley's payroll in Springfield at that time was $115 million. Yet last year's payroll in Springfield was $85 million. That $115 million 50 years ago would be $640 million now. And you can imagine what that would mean in terms of home ownership and the distribution of property taxes at 60% lower. 50 years ago, 90% of the people in Springfield, because of those payrolls, owned houses, and this year we have 70% of Springfielders owning houses. So the property owners here do have a burden, but if we shoot down the school budget, basically we're just helping Wall Street make Springfield even more by participating in helping them make that race to the bottom. So I'm imploring all the Springfield property owners to shoulder the load, look ahead, listen to the people who have ideas to make Springfield go ahead, and just make the town better that way rather than punishing our children and eating our seed corn. Thank you.
Thank you. Please step forward.
Scott Parr, Fairground Heights. I have a comment. That $41 million ask is only 2% over the previous year. That's what you're voting on. If you really want to do something about the cost of education in the state of Vermont, because that number is an indicator of all the numbers in the state of Vermont, don't take it out on this 2% ask. Talk to your legislators and say, 2% is a reasonable ask in Springfield, but we got to do some real work about the size of our system for the kids that we're serving in this state. That's where you really get at significant savings. And I know you have at least 2 legislators here It's a big conversation, so have your voice be heard there, and have your voice be heard about this very reasonable ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 13? Seeing none, so we will move on to Article 14. Shall the town appropriate the sum of $2,500 to the Springfield Community Band for 8 concerts? Is there a Barbara Rogers here to be heard?
Yes, sir. I'm Barbara Rogers, I live on Rockford Road. I play flute in the band, and I'm here representing the band and our amazing director, Nick Pelton, who graduated from the Springfield school system. I have to start with the school board. Thank you so much for what you're doing to bring music back to the high school. This is so important to so many members in our band who are graduates of the Springfield school district. Yeah, the arts are important. Anyway, I need to tell you that every year we work, for the last maybe 5-6 years, we have asked for $2,500 to support 8 concerts, 3 concerts in Springfield. And we have these concerts, once again, this coming summer at the Hardens House. And we enjoy a large audience. And to prepare for this year we're making up, we're rehearsing 53 different pieces of music for 8 concerts. So that's a heavy load, but we're going to do it. And also, I should mention that over the years, last 3 years, maybe it's 4 now, we have managed to put together a holiday concert too, in addition to the 8 that we promised you. You might wonder how we use this money, and we use it, first of all, to buy music. Music is expensive and it goes up every year. Costs at least $90, $100 for every piece. And then we, though if you're trying to get those numbers to jive, where some of the music we're playing this year we played in past years and comes from the past, but a lot of it is new. Then we pay our director, and we maintain the instruments that we own all the percussion. We have a trailer, and without this equipment trailer, we can't present our concert. It holds our stand lights, our sound system, our percussion, all of our music, and that needs to be registered and insured. And of course, we have to have liability insurance. And that's about the sum of what we use the $2,500 for. So I want you to know that in 1946, the band was formed out of the Fellows Church Shaker Band, and maybe a few other little bands. And they came together to give music to the community, and also to provide a place for the Springfield, this is in the town report from 1946, for the Springfield students who are interested in music to have a place to play after they graduate. And we're hoping that with this new music in the high school, that this will feed into our band, which has suffered in the past, and but this certainly has come back. And so that's important. And for the past 80 years, and I went back in the town reports, every single year in these 80 years, the town citizens of Springfield have supported the band in their request for funding. And we do hope that it keeps going, that it's an 81 thing this year. And in return for all of this, we provide music and we provide joy. Any questions?
Thank you for that. Does anyone else wish to be heard on Article 14? All right, so we'll move to Article 15. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $9,000 to Southeastern Vermont Community Action, SEVCA, to assist Springfield in responding to the emergency needs of the community and to provide all available and applicable services to families and individuals in need. That's Article 15. Does anyone wish to be heard on Article 15?
Can I speak to it? I'm afraid I don't have a hand raising icon on my computer. I don't know why.
Sure, please identify yourself.
Sorry. My name is Dee Young. I'm a resident of Springfield. I'm speaking for a second. I want to thank you for allowing me this time. STATCO, which stands for Housing Development I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Has been serving Wiggins and Wiggins County for 60 years by helping families overcome hardship and build stability. Our mission is to empower and partner with individuals and communities to alleviate the hardship of poverty, for opportunities to thrive, and eliminate the root causes of poverty. In fiscal year 2024 and 2025, SED supported a total of 3,500 people in 2,000 households, providing over 7,500 services through our program, which include Head Start, weatherization, emergency home repair, family services, which provide crisis resolution, fuel, utilities, housing, and food assistance, micro-business development, financial coaching, which helps people with asset building and financial literacy, volunteer income tax assistance, a community solar program, and a thrift store voucher program. Here in Springfield, from October 2024 to the end of September 2025, SEDCA served a total of 298 unduplicated households, comprised of 583 people with these services. An unduplicated means that some of the households may have received services from more than one of our program areas. Our office on Main Street has a great possible to serve Springfield in person. Such an impact here in Springfield during fiscal year 2024-25 included $282,288 in no-cost weatherization services that reduce household energy costs and make homes healthier and safer, $35,404 in emergency heating system repairs and replacements to keep homes heated, $2,875 in emergency home repairs to address immediate health or safety concerns, $31,798 in fuel and utility assistance to keep people's homes heated and with power on, $46,076 in housing assistance to help people avoid eviction or get into safe and affordable housing, $6,528 in community solar energy assistance to reduce household energy costs, $2,185 in thrift vouchers to obtain necessary household goods for clothing. 27 families received comprehensive early childhood development and family support services. 94 households received assistance preparing their income taxes to take advantage of tax credits, refunds, and rebates. 8 households received coaching services to support improved financial well-being, and 5 households received support in building and developing small businesses. The combined value of services provided to residents in the town of Springfield exceeded $447,154. These figures were for direct assistance, client assistance only, and do not include the cost of SEDCA providing services which have been in operating costs. As a low-income resident of Springfield and a member of the board representing the client sector, I can attest to how meaningful and really life-changing SEDCA services have been. My access to health and food, especially when I was battling cancer, has made it possible to instead of providing the farm to family coupons. Without that assistance, I could not have afforded to stay on a diet that was really, truly instrumental in saving my life. I can also tell you that the low-income residents of the apartment building I did live in at the time were also able to make full use of the food assistance thanks to SEDCA. I'm now living in a house-share situation here in Springfield with someone who is also accessible youth program to be able to keep the house. I can tell you, that is just an absolutely crucial this winter. And I'm really not sure what either of us would have done if we could have been about that in this room. Many of you probably know that there was a fire at Hudson main office in Westminster 2.5 weeks ago. However, their incredible staff has been able to continue operations and services with virtually no interruptions by finding new locations, working remotely, and in the case of the weatherization folks, they were actually working as a storage container in the driveway. They are truly a caring, dedicated group of people. I thank you all for your consideration and hope we'll continue to support us. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 15? Okay, we'll move to Article 16. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $50,500 to help support the high-quality home health, maternal and child health, and hospice care provided in patients' homes and in community settings by the visiting nurse and hospice for Vermont and New Hampshire. Care is provided regardless of ability to pay. That's Article 16. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on Article 16? I don't see any hands. We'll move to Article 17. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $8,500 for the support of Senior Solutions, formerly Council on Aging for Southeastern Vermont, for help to support seniors and their families who are trying to remain at home and not be placed in a nursing home? Sue Phelps?
Thank you. I'm Sue Phelps, and I live on Park Street, and I am the Finance Director for Senior Solutions, the area agency on aging for Southeastern Vermont. Our mission is to promote the well-being and dignity of older Vermonters and to ensure that they have the support they need to thrive independently. During the last fiscal year, we provided the following services to the residents of Springfield: 866 phone calls or office visits to our helpline. Our helpline offers information, referrals, and assistance to older Vermonters, their families, and their caregivers to problem-solve, plan, and access resources. 155 calls or office visits for assistance with Medicare issues and enrollment through our state health insurance program, SHIP. SHIP provides Medicare education and counseling, classes for new Medicare enrollees, and help enrolling in Part D and choosing enrollment. Our volunteers provide home visits, telephone reassurance, and respite for family caregivers. We have a vet-to-vet program which matches veteran volunteers with veteran recipients. Last year, 31 Springfield residents received 1,440 hours of volunteer services. Other services that we have that we do not use town funds for, we have Choices for Care case management program. We have 133 residents with in-home case management, totaling 2,482 hours to enable them to remain living safely at home. We also have support clients with sudden neglect behaviors and help those who experience abuse, neglect, and exploitation with case management services. We partner with Meals and Meals of Greater Springfield, Springfield Family Center, and JC's Market and Deli to provide 20,100 nutritious home-delivered for-profit meals. We administer federal and state funds to local organizations to supplement their operating costs for these meal programs. The funds we provide do not cover the full cost, so local meal sites must seek additional funding to meet operating costs. Senior Solutions does not use town funding to support the meal programs, and we do not benefit from any of the funds that the town may provide to the local meal sites. We also offer registered dietitian services for meal planning and offer nutrition counseling to residents. As you may know, the Vermont Department of Health projects that by 2030, 1 in 3 Vermonters will be over the age of 60. As demand grows, so does the cost of delivering high-quality services, while flat federal funding and viral disruption continue to strain nonprofits, including Senior Solutions. Continued support from the town of Springfield is critical to meeting the needs of its older residents. We are grateful for the past support, and we hope to continue this partnership, and we are hoping that The voters will approve our request for $8,500. If you'd like to learn more, our annual report and a lot of other resources are available on our website at seniorsolutionsbc.org. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 17? All right, Article 18. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $4,000 to help support the Valley Health Connections, formerly Precision Valley Free Clinic, to help the uninsured access health care? That's Article 18. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on Article 18? We have someone online. Please identify yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Samantha Ball, and I am the Executive Director at Valley Health Connection. We're located right on River Street. Our mission is to remove barriers to care for all. Since 2005, we have received annual support from the town of Springfield. We currently receive $4,000, and we are requesting that amount again this year. This represents just over 1% of our total revenue. And we utilize these funds to support Springfield residents. We help to pay for needed medications. We help everyone enroll in and understand health insurance, which this year was a test, the biggest test maybe ever, with the changes to the Affordable Care Act and Vermont Health Connect, changes to Medicare, Medicaid. We did a lot of figuring out the puzzle pieces and helping Vermonters and Springfield residents stay insured, and more importantly, understand their insurance. We served 617 residents. We helped 328 of them access health insurance. We completed 966 financial aid applications between North Star Health and Springfield Hospital to help people access the care that they need and afford it. And we also helped with 122 social service applications. We provided $8,505 of free medications that we paid for. Some of the highest being for diabetes medications, inhalers, heart meds to keep people out of the emergency room and healthy and happy. And then we helped with $12,951 to go towards dental care. Something else that I did not include in my report, but I think is astounding, is that between the four of us in the office, we also work with pharmaceutical companies to secure over $500,000 worth of free medications for those in the area. I just want to say a huge thank you to the town of Springfield as well, anybody who's listening, who sat with us during open enrollment this year. It was the most challenging that I've ever seen, and this is my 11th open enrollment, or 11th year of open enrollment. There was a huge challenge with Medicare, Medicaid, Vermont Health Connect, and the staff, our phone lines broke numerous times because of call volume. Our voicemail crashed, and the outpouring of love we received this year from the community, between our partner social service agencies, the people who came to see us. By the holidays, we were all struggling, and we were receiving food and thank you notes, and so much joy over the phone, and I really thank the community, the staff, and I thank everyone so much for that. And thank you for your support of Valley Connections and your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 19? Oh, let me correct that. That was Article 18. Anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 18? It's getting late. Article 19. Shall the town of Springfield appropriate the sum of $12,500 for the support of the mover, formerly known as the Current, operated by Southeast Vermont Transit, Inc., to provide transit services to the residents of the town of Springfield? Is there a Christine Howe who wishes to be heard? Yes.
Great. So I just want to say thank you all for being here, and thank you again to Springfield, $12,500 to support kind of all of our services. If you're not familiar with the mover, we are the full-steam car buses that drive around. We provide safe, reliable, efficient transportation to support economic and health and quality of life. We serve 34 towns, and Springfield is one of those towns. Last year, we provided about 488,000 rides, traveling a little over 2 million miles. So we kind of go everywhere. We receive, obviously, federal funding, state funding, other funding from human service partners and sponsorships and foundations and businesses. The town contributions is a huge part of our funding source. And as everybody always says, expenses keep going up. So every bit of contributions from all the towns is crucial in keeping us to sustain all of our current services. So we appreciate the town of Springfield's support. Last year, just to let you know, for the town of Springfield, we provided 16,126 non-emergency medical rides or Medicaid rides. We also provided 10,800 fixed route rides. And as you know, this year, that fixed route turned into microtransit. So just a little bit of statistics for the microtransit program thus far. We have surpassed what we would normally have done on the fixed route service for rides. We're averaging about 48 to 49 rides per day. Sometimes we've gotten as high as 62 to 63 rides in a day. And the majority of the rides, the highest percentage of use for the rides is employment, which is really great to hear. So I wanted to just give you a little update since I have all of your ears. So we're hoping again, and requesting again for $12,500 this year from the town of Springfield. We're hoping for the support of the town, and we thank the support of the town. That's it.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 19?
Good evening, again, thank you. Question for the Hello again, Dave Mel. Question for the previous speaker. Does this proposed funding amount, does that maintain the status quo? Does that cut service? Does that increase service? And also, are we continuing for the next fiscal year maintaining the microtransit model? Thank you.
Christine, how are you still there, and did you hear the questions?
I'm still here, yes, I heard it. Yes, that will maintain service, and it will maintain the microtransit service. The microtransit service is a 3-year pilot program, and we're in the first year, so we expect that for at least another 2.5+ years.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard on Article 19?
My name is Angelina Ventress, and I actually volunteer for the mover. So I totally want to say that every day I get in my car and I think people are ever grateful. And some of these people without the mover, they wouldn't be able to get to dialysis, they wouldn't be able to get to cancer treatments, and to work and to recovery. So I think it's a really fruitful, really gives back to the community. So, yes, to give them the money because it's a very valuable resource in Springfield, especially in the nowadays when people don't have the transportation.
Thank you for that. Does anyone else wish to be heard on Article 19? So moving to Article 20. Shall the town of Springfield appropriate the sum of $2,500 to Green Mountain RSVP and Volunteer Center of Windsor County to develop opportunities for people aged 55 and older to positively impact the quality of life in the community of Springfield through volunteer service? That's Article 20. Is there a Melanie Perry online?
Yes, hello, hi. I'm Melanie Perry. I'm the Windsor County Coordinator for Green Mountain RSVP. We are only in operation with 3 full-time employees in each of the counties that we serve.
supporting a total of around 235 volunteers. We are part of AmeriCorps Seniors Program, happened since 1978. Our records indicate we received funding from Springfield since around 2016, and the amount of $2,500 that we received from Springfield in 2025 represented approximately 0.88% of our total annual operating budget. It was used to revamp our home builders curriculum and materials, as well as purchase more weeks for classes. And our biggest accomplishment this year was revamping the home builders program and training a total of 109 volunteer class leaders in the new routine, printing teacher and student manuals, and also as a result of the revamp, many of the students are increasing the weights that they use, which resulted in us purchasing more weights for the classes. There are currently, well, I know it says 23, but I believe it's 25 Springfield residents who volunteer through RSVP, and they served a combined total of more than 2,300 volunteer hours in 2025. There are also RSVP volunteers who live in surrounding towns that also perform volunteer service in Springfield. So we have volunteers that help different nonprofits in Springfield, including Meals on Wheels, the Santa Claus Club, Senior Solutions, the Art Gym, Vermont Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, as well as we coordinate the free volunteer-led home builders classes, the Sunshine Heart Project, as well as the free carryover class that is at the Springfield Senior Center. And I'm not going to call anybody out, but one of my lovely volunteers is here tonight, so you know who you are. But yes, our biggest challenge going into this year has been uncertainty about possible changes to the program funding at the federal level. However, things are looking optimistic at this point in time, and we continue to recruit and support volunteers that are age 55 and up in different programs that provide training for carryover and home builders instructors. So that's all I've got.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 20? All right, moving to Article 21. Shall the town of Springfield appropriate the sum of $10,000 to assist with the cost of operating the Meals on Wheels program of Greater Springfield that provides daily hot and cold, congregate, and home-delivered meals and other nutritional needs to the qualified residents of Springfield? That's Article 21. Chip Longo?
Hi, thank you. Chip Longo, Old Connecticut, River Road. I am on the board of Meals and Wheels, and I'm also a volunteer driver. We provide meals for approximately 75 seniors here in Springfield, and that's almost 400 meals a week. And we have a crew of about 24 volunteer drivers, and we use this money to help offset things like insurance and administrative costs and things like that. So I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on Article 21, Meals on Wheels? Moving on to Article 22. Shall the town of Springfield appropriate the sum of $3,000 to Windsor County Partners doing business as Windsor County Mentors for youth mentoring services provided to the children of Windsor County? Pat Vidana, is she on Zoom?
Yes, I am. And unmute. Hello, I live at 53A Pleasant Street in Springfield, and I'm the vice chairman of Windsor County Mentors. We did change our name from Windsor County Partners a bit ago. You can find us on wcmentors.org. We match youth of our funding all told from the 24 towns that we cover in Windsor County. And Springfield is one of those. You've always supported us, and we actually recruited for our board Jan Rounds, who many of you know is guidance counselor now at Riverside Middle. And she's a great addition to our board. We've served about 1,500 youth over the 52 years, and statistics show that youth who have a mentor do better at school, they do better to follow up college and vocational work, and what else do I want to tell you? There's about 1,000 eligible children in Windsor County, and we are very actively recruiting mentors all the time. It's very tough to get mentors. So we like you to spread the word as well, and we thank you for the funding opportunity. I do want to say also that the money goes chiefly toward our staff, which consists of two regional coordinators, a school coordinator, and a programs coordinator who does very stringent and close work in basically matching youth to adults with secure services. So background checks are key in our little nonprofit. So thank you for getting this opportunity, and I'll answer your questions if there are any.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 22? All right, moving on to Article 23. Shall the town appropriate the sum of $5,000 to the Springfield Supported Housing to assist families and individuals find permanent housing and provide in-home case management services for 6 months to 2 years after placement? Tribune. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. So I did too?
Tribune.
Oh, I think I got it right.
Good evening. Hello? There we go. Okay. Good evening, friends, neighbors. I am Lee Tribune. I'm the Executive Director at Springfield Supported Housing Program. Tonight I just want to talk to you briefly about something that matters to all of us, making sure people in Springfield have a safe place to call home. The Springfield Supported Housing Program, or SSHP as we're known as, is a local nonprofit right here in town. Our mission is simple. We help people who are homeless or about to lose their housing find a safe, stable home, and then give them the support they need to stay there. This past year, more than 1,000 people in your community reached out for help. That's not a number from somewhere else. That's our neighbors, families, young people, parents, and people living with disabilities. Because of our program, over the last year, we had 87 households move into safe and stable housing. We had 157 families avoid eviction and able to stay in their homes. We had 512 new households receive help, hope, and real support. We also helped young people under 25 who were trying to get on their feet. We supported young parents working hard to keep their children safe. And we worked with people who have long-term disabilities and have been homeless for a long time. But the need is growing. Housing is hard to find, rent keeps going up, and more people are asking for help than ever before. Sometimes families have to stay in motels while they wait for something permanent to open up. Right now, the town of Springfield contributes $5,000 a year to support this work, and we are eternally grateful for that support. That investment helps keep families housed, helps children stay in their schools, and helps people get back on their feet. When you vote, and you vote yes on this appropriation, we are not just approving a line in a budget. We are saying kids in Springfield deserve a safe place to sleep. Families deserve a fair chance to stay together. People going through hard times deserve support, not judgment. And a stronger community starts with stable housing. Homelessness doesn't just affect one family, it affects our whole town. When people are stable, they can work, learn, and contribute. Our schools are stronger, our workforce is stronger, our community is stronger. This is about neighbors helping neighbors. I hope you will vote yes to support Springfield's supported housing program and continue building a Springfield where everyone has the chance to have a safe and stable home. Thank you, and I'll take questions.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 23? Okay, moving on to Article 24. Shall the town appropriate the sum of $65,000 to the Springfield Family Center to assist with the cost of providing free meals, a free food show, and other services related to hunger, as well as make referrals to partner social service organizations in the community? That's Article 24. Paul Chaffee?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. Just a quick observation when we started the meeting. I noted 39 people online. I see 24 now. So I'll try to be brief. This marks the Family Center's 53rd year of continuous operation in the town of Springfield. It was established in 1973, and its first director was Myrtle Bursky, who managed the center for 25 years and recently passed away at the age of 100. We are proud to be able to carry on Myrtle's self-professed life goal, which was to help everyone when they need help. But she couldn't, and we can't, help people without the support of our local leaders and above all, the taxpayers. Whether times are good or times are bad, there's always going to be a percentage of people who need food assistance, and that is our primary mission. But the Family Center is more than a food shelf that distributes non-prepared food to those in need. We also prepare in-house and distribute 100 hot meals a day, Mondays through Friday. In the last year, recognizing that not everyone who needs assistance can get to our facility when we are open, we partnered with local schools, the library, the police department, Springfield Supported Housing, recovery centers, and the community health centers to stock and distribute food or meals at their locations. So again, we're only able to make these programs work because of the generosity of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 24? Moving on to Article 25. Shall the town of Springfield appropriate the sum of $4,000 to the Women's Freedom Center for general budget support to provide services to women and their children who are experiencing emotional, physical, and or sexual abuse and are residents of the town? That's Article 25. Does anyone wish to be heard on Article 25? Moving on to Article 26. Shall the town of Springfield appropriate the sum of $9,500 to the Springfield Art and Historical Society to assist in preserving, maintaining, and displaying for the public the history of the art, the history and art of the town of Springfield, Vermont? That's Article 26. Please step forward.
Good evening. My name is Theo Evans, and I'm the president of the Springfield Art and Historical Society. Tonight, I'm asking you, the citizens of Springfield, to approve our annual appropriation of $9,500. This modest investment plays a critical role in keeping our museum financially stable and operational. But more than that, it allows us to serve the people of Springfield in meaningful, tangible ways. Over the past year, we have made significant progress. We have continued transitioning and updating our exhibits to make them more engaging and accessible to the public. We've assisted community members with local history and genealogical research, helping families uncover stories that might otherwise be lost. And we have worked in partnership with the state of Vermont and the State Historical Society to support and expand the state's rapidly growing digital archives, ensuring that historical records are preserved and accessible for future generations. Our work is about stewardship. It's about preserving Springfield's identity, honoring the generations who built this town, and making that history available to our students, researchers, and residents. For $9,500, the town sustains an institution that safeguards our shared history and provides educational and cultural value year-round. We are careful with every dollar that we have. We rely heavily, as I should say, solely, on volunteers, and we are committed to continuing the progress we have made. I respectfully ask for your support in approving this appropriation so we can continue serving Springfield with responsibility, integrity, and purpose. Also, one final goal. Please consider joining our organization. Information is available about joining on our website at www.springfieldartandhistorical.org. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Does anyone else wish to be heard on Article 26? Moving to Article 27. Shall the town of Springfield appropriate the sum of $9,000 to Turning Point Recovery Center, Drop-In Center, and Transition House to help with the everyday cost of providing recovery services and housing for men and that are in recovery from alcohol, substance abuse, and co-occurring disorders? Is there Astrid Radish-Hoyt here? Please step forward. Please step forward.
Good evening, I'm Astrid Radish-Hoyt. I'm the CEO of Turning Point Recovery Center here on Morgan Street in Springfield. So for 20 years now, Turning Point has supported Springfield residents seeking recovery, stability, and connection. We operate a community recovery center and a 7-bed transitional recovery residence that help individuals successfully return to daily life after treatment or justice involvement. In the past year alone, Turning Point recorded over 6,000 recovery support interactions and served more than 500 unique participants, many of them Springfield residents seeking local community-based care. Town support through Article 27 helps sustain the person-to-person recovery coaching, referrals to transportation, employment, and court navigation and housing stability services that often make the difference between someone struggling alone and someone staying connected to recovery. While we receive graded funding, town investment ensures that Springfield residents have consistent support right here. When recovery is supported locally, families are strengthened, emergency services are reduced, and individuals are able to contribute back to our community. We're proud to be a part of Springfield's safety net and deeply grateful for the town's long-standing partnership.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 27? Moving on to Article 28. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to help support outpatient mental health and substance abuse services by the staff of Healthcare and Rehabilitation Services, Inc.? Is George Karabakakis online?
Yes, I am, and thank you for having me, and good evening, everyone. So, yes, I'm George Karabakakis, CEO of HCRS, and as you might know, we We are the designated community mental health agency, serving Wyndham and Windsor counties. We serve well over 4,000 individuals and impact many thousands more. We've provided 86,847 hours of services to 577 residents of the town of Springfield in fiscal year 2025. And we provide a range of services, everything from therapy, case management, psychiatry, help with housing, employment, benefit support, skill building, residential services, peer support services, police. We've had a police social work program here in Springfield, school-based services, and we provide all those services for folks, children, youth, families, individuals with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities. We also operate Kindle Farm, which is a therapeutic school in Townsend and Newfane that we actually, and we do serve kids, students from Springfield. And the services that we provide are not just in the office, they're on the street, they're in people's homes. We are embedded and co-located and connected to so many agencies in our community because we know that if we're going to support people, we need to do it in collaboration with our community partners, with the hospital and North Star, schools, and Springfield Supported Housing, Turning Point Recovery Center, Senior Solutions, and DCF, and just so many other organizations in our community to help people address the trauma, the depression, the anxiety, all the challenges that they might be facing, including homelessness and poverty and food insecurity and all the other things that they're facing. And so what funding would go to support are coordinators and access navigators who can help connect people to those services, which I also failed to mention that we also provide crisis services and enhanced mobile crisis 24/7. And so we are supporting people to connect to services so they can find hope, so they can find something within themselves that can allow them to move forward toward recovery. And that is just such important work. And I'll also add that mental health and substance use issues know no boundaries, that it could be friends, it could be our family members, it could be our neighbors, that it's something that impacts all of us and is really central to really good health care. And so, again, I want to really express my appreciation and gratitude for the town of Springfield for all the support that you've provided us. And so I think that's all I'll say, because I know it's late. So thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 28? Moving on to Article 29. Shall the town of Springfield, Vermont appropriate the sum of $5,000 to the Springfield Area Parent-Child Center to provide wraparound services for young children and their families, including but not limited to diaper and formula bank, developmental screenings and early intervention therapy, community workshops and trainings, family case management, activity bags, high-quality preschool and child care center, welcome baby bags, and fun community events like the Family Festival, in accordance with 24 Vermont Statute annotated 2691. That's Article 29. Does anyone wish to be heard on Article 29? Please step forward.
Hi, my name is Amanda McLeod. I'm a Springfield resident and the finance director for the Springfield Area Parent-Child Center. First, I want to sincerely thank the voters of Springfield for your support last year. Your investment allowed us to meet critical needs for children and families right here leader in this community. We respectfully ask for your continued support with another appropriation of $5,000, the same level of funding we provided last year. While this is only our second year receiving town funding, we've proudly served Springfield and the surrounding communities for over 30 years. Springfield's contribution represents less than 1% of our annual revenue, but its impact locally is significant. Last year alone, we served 1,740 unique Springfield residents, bringing $1.9 million worth of services to the area. And 37% of those families access more than one service, which tells us something important. Families need support, not for just one challenge. They need often layered, connected support. Some of the ways that support was received: 139 families received child care financial assistance and help finding child care so that parents could work. 286 families received essential supports like food, clothing, diapers, and formula. 27 families participated in playgroups and parent education. 70 families accessed early intervention services through Children's Integrated Services, which includes things like speech therapy, occupational therapy, mental health services for children that are under 3. And 20 families enrolled their children in playgroups shelters. These numbers are more than statistics. They represent working parents, young children, grandparents taking care of grandchildren, families trying to make ends meet in a time when costs continue to rise. Looking ahead, we anticipate growing need. The rising cost of food, housing, utilities, and childcare means more families are turning to us for basic supports that are essential. With your continued support, we can strengthen core services, expand access to necessities, ensure families have a reliable place to turn during difficult times. Additionally, another great way to support the Springfield Area Parent Child Center and the work that we do is by joining our board. We are actively recruiting for board members. For more information, you can visit our website at www.sapcc-bt.org or by giving the office a call at 886-5242. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and your commitment to children and families in Springfield.
Thank you for that. Does anyone else wish to be heard on Article 29? Moving to Article 30. Shall the town appropriate the sum of $7,500 for gallery at the vault, visual art using local talent, to offer opportunities for learning and participation in the creative process, and to provide a marketplace for artists while furthering the revitalization of the downtown? Is there anyone? Please step forward.
Hi, I'm Courtney Bond, and I live on Connecticut River Road, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Paul. Gallery of Vault is a nonprofit Vermont State Craft Center established 25 years ago to encourage the appreciation of visual art while furthering the revitalization of downtown Springfield. We serve the community by offering opportunities for learning and participation in the creative process. What Vault offers is a marketplace for over 100 jewelry artists and craftsmen, gifts in all price ranges, a variety of always changing art shows, a venue for local artists to display and or sell their work in a non-jewelry format, many inexpensive and sometimes free workshops, free demonstrations, fun fundraising activities, and collaborating events with Springfield schools and local organizations. Each year, especially during COVID, we struggle to make ends meet. With a very active board of directors, many volunteer hours, annual member and corporate appeals, grant writing, and fundraisers, we have barely managed to keep our head above water. We believe that Vault is very important to our community, and we hope that you will agree to supporting our special appropriation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 30? Moving on to Article 31. Shall the town vote to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Section 12-126, discharge of firearms restricted, paragraph B, by adding the following sentence at the end of paragraph B. Quote, "No person shall discharge a firearm in the area designated as Hartness Park," unquote. That's Article 31. Mr. Gregory, did you want to be heard on that?
Gregory, Springfield, Mineral Street. Contrary to a claim made erroneously in the Springfield Reporter, towns under state law can regulate the use of firearms on land that they own, like Hartman's Park, but not on privately owned land. Towns which do this include, among others, Fells Falls, Burlington, Montpelier, Rutland, Windsor, and Williston. This happened because times had changed for them. 100 years ago, Hartness Park hunters would have been astonished to see someone biking through the park, walking their dog, or jogging. 100 years ago, people were not conditioned by TV or social media to be afraid of men with guns or the sound of a gunshot nearby, but times have changed. It is for Springfield voters to decide at tomorrow's town meeting whether times have changed here.
Thank you. Is there any, to be even-handed here, is there anyone on the opposite side of that issue who wants to be heard? You're unsure which side you're on. Please step forward.
Hello, Bill, again, as we know. So I'm not saying I'm for or against the measure. I have yet to make my mind up on that. We'll find out tomorrow when I cast my ballot. However, I did want to ask that, so I'm pretty sure we had a veto referendum on this exact text, November 2024, and it was voted to have it removed. I'm just curious as to why now bring the question back? That's all.
Is there someone from the town that would want to answer the question? I've heard from the bench here, it's a citizens initiative. Okay. Please step forward.
Hallie Whitman. I had nothing to do with the initiative, but I am all for it. During hunting season, we need some places where some of us can feel safe, where dogs don't have to deal with gunshots all the time. It's critical that we have some places that we can be safe, feel safe. And I don't know if hunters understand. I know they are going to tell us that they're safe, but when gunshots go off, it's very scary for humans, some of us humans, and for animals. And I'm hoping that we can at least protect a few areas like Hartness Park. So I thank everyone who got this back on, and I hope that we can pass it. And I thank you very much for giving us another chance to make this happen. Please, hunters, understand, you have so much area that you can hunt. And we need some areas we can feel safe at. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there someone online who wanted to be heard? If so, please identify yourself. We see a raised hand, but we see a muted button. We're not hearing anything.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Understood. My name is Ramona Emery, and the citizens of Springfield fought this off after the ordinance committee adopted the gun discharge ban, following the state of Vermont having to inform me that we cannot ban hunting at Hartman Park. And it's sort of a bit And as nice as it would be to say, we need a safe place, apartment park, the truth of the matter really is that this land, this 85 acres, was ceded to the residents of the town of Springfield to be used for recreation forever, and for the town to maintain for such. Yes, 100 years ago, others would not have clean mountain bikers or hikers. The hunters don't want to us any more than we want to see them. And they're able to hunt there anyway. I feel it's odd that you have stated now twice in an official capacity that the person who just brought this petition, just maybe 15 months later from ours, is a private citizen. You keep enunciating that. But the truth is, this initiative was brought forth from the town. You always have select board liaisons to your committee, and this was brought forth from the Springfield Trails and Rural Economy Committee because of a notion of unsafety for people in the park. And it's just a non-issue. It's a non-issue. So I would encourage the townspeople to not remove the rights of one group if you value the rights of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who has not yet been heard who wants to be heard? Please step forward. And I will get to others if they want to be heard again after everybody who wants to be heard is heard once.
Hi, Robin Gardner. I didn't think I'd get up and talk about this, but I'll just say, Robin Gardner. I'm not a hunter. I support hunters. Hunting only happens 5 to 6 weeks maybe out of the whole year. I am a dog walker. I have never felt unsafe walking my dogs anywhere in the woods. I put on either the Blaze Orange vest or other very bright clothing, and I just think it's being made an issue where there's never been a problem. There's never been a problem in Gardner's Park, and I hope the citizens vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard who hasn't been heard yet? And I'll broaden the question now. Is there anyone else who wants to be heard?
Chuck Gregory. Simply to clear up a couple of points that the previous commenter had. I introduced this because the original bill that was on the 2024 general election, the entire process was really confusing. To begin with, the petition had to be submitted twice because the first time the select board determined that it had editorial language in it. So the people that rewrote it, unfortunately, wrote it in a manner that was so confusing that people who voted on it often voted against their interests. And I met some of those people when I was collecting signatures for my petition. In addition to that, they also introduced it at a very inconvenient time, which meant that the town would have had to spend $5,000 to hold a special election just for that article. But the town realized that there was a general election coming up and it could be included in that, except that that ballot had already been printed, so they had to mail out a copy of the article to every voter. About half of the voters didn't even, I don't know if they didn't notice that there was an extra article with their ballot or whether they decided to just leave it at home, but they didn't show up with one. When they went to the town, they were offered a ballot, and if they were confused about the wording in it, they could not be informed as to what it was about because that was against state law to talk about issues like that at a polling place. When the issue was voted on, for about 2 hours afterward, both sides thought they had won. Okay. Also, normally in all these issues that have been presented tonight for town ballot, for community things like the band, senior wheels, visiting nurses, the skip rate on a vote is about 2% to 5% for any one of those. Voters see it on the ballot, they skip over it because they figure it's not their issue. The skip rate on this particular issue, largely because it was not even on the ballot, was 46%, which is anywhere from 10 to, I don't know, 20 times the usual skip rate for an issue. So a lot of people simply didn't participate because I believe they didn't know about it. So I decided it would be a good idea to put it back on this year's ballot and have everybody have a chance to skip over it, and we'll all know that the actual skip rate was 46%. That's why I did the whole thing.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 31? We have a hand online. You're muted. Please unmute yourself and identify yourself. We're not hearing you. Yes, please identify yourself.
This is Ramona Emery again. I just wanted to make sure that for the record, if anyone watches this later, that the reason the petition was done after the August 12, 2024 select board vote, as the Springfield Journalism and Rural Economy, brought forth to you, that Mr. Gregory is on, is because people were complaining, but they weren't sure what they could do. And one of the select board members was kind enough to write back to me and explain the statute that we had, well, at that time, we had 40 days, but it was about a week later. So quite a few people signed a petition, and we had nothing to do with the wording for the ballot. The select board could explain, I think your town attorney had to write that. I have been involved in petitions before, so I was trying to help people understand how they could push back against the government decision. And in my small town, where we did that, we were able just to ask that the select board would stop that initiative and not revisit it. So that's why the language was, he said editorial, but I think he told us statutory, meaning the law piece or whatever, right? So I just wanted to clear that up. There's been a lot of innuendo and rumor that we somehow wrote that, and that's not the case. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Article 31? I see no hands in the room, and I see no hands on the line. All right, we've finished the agenda for this meeting is warned. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. The Riverside Middle School Gymnasium at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026, to vote by ballot for town and school district officers for all appropriations and other items of business, including the River Valley Tech Center School District budget, which have its own informational meeting on Thursday, February 26, 2026. Thank you all for attending, and good night.
To order copies of this program, please call 802-885-6248. This program was created using equipment of SAPA TV. The views and opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily those of SAPA TV or its staff. Visit us online at www.sapatv.org. Thanks for watching.